एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपी गो श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग की जय। काश स्वामी नित नामने नमः शुभदाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नित नामने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। वंदेहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। साधु साधु तदाय नथि नीचो चतार कहाना मंचकदा चिन्मां प्रेमरत कंठयोस्पुरा। This you put now first. So low. Hare Krishna. So topic is on Krishna's protection or God's protection in connection or in respect to recent murder of devotees in Bangladesh. 2 brahmacharis were murdered. So, question is why did Lord Krishna did not protect them? Sometimes devotees may doubt like this. So what is your situation? Brahmacharis are here. Brahmacharis were murdered, no? Did you feel like that anytime? No. You are all very transcendental, very learned devotees. And atheists also, they challenge. What was your Krishna doing at that time when these devotees were murdered? Like that, many atheists will question, challenge. Anyway, on Krishna's protection, we will discuss this point. There is one verse in first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is first canto, chapter 12, text number 9. So this is in connection with Krishna protecting Parikshit Maharaj. Srimad Dirgha Chaturbahum Tapta Kanchana Kundalam Kshataksham Gadapanim Atmanaha Sarvato Disham Paribhramantam Ulkabham Brahmayantam Gadam Muhu. Translation is as follows. The Lord was enriched with 4 hands, earrings of molten gold, and eyes blood red with fury, As he loitered about, his club constantly encircled him like a shooting star. Because that Sanskrit word is used, ulkabam, brahmayantam, gadam, muhuhu. I will read just a relevant portion of the purport, not full, because Prabhupada, he says, in a later part of the purport, Prabhupada basically establishes how deity form of the Lord is directly Krishna himself. Archa Vigraha is Krishna himself. It is said in Brahma Samhita that the Supreme Lord Govinda, by his plenary portion, enters into the hollow of the universe and distributes himself as Paramatma, or the Super Soul, not only within the heart of every living being, but also within every atom of the material elements. Thus the Lord is all-pervading by his inconceivable potency. And thus he entered the womb of Uttara to save his beloved devotee Maharaj Parikshit. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.31, the Lord assured everyone that his devotees are never to be vanquished. You all know this verse. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nikachati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashati. No one can kill a devotee of the Lord because he is protected by the Lord, and no one can save a person whom the Lord desires to kill. The Lord is all-powerful, and therefore he can both save and kill as he likes. He becomes visible to his devotee Maharaj Parikshit even in that awkward position in the womb of his mother, in a shape just suitable for his vision. Then Prabhupada tells about appearance of Lord in the form of deity also, mercifully. Anyway, here this portion of in the Bhagavad Gita 9.31, the Lord assured everyone that his devotees are never to be vanquished. No one can kill a devotee of the Lord because he is protected by the Lord, and no one can save a person whom the Lord desires to kill. The Lord is all-powerful, and therefore he can both save and kill as he likes. It is said like that. So basically, protection of devotees. This topic appears in Bhagavad Gita in the 9th chapter. In other places also, but mainly there. So this verse is there, and before this there is 9.22, the famous verse you all know. Ananyascintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nitya abhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. So that I protect my devotees. What kind of devotees here Krishna is describing? Ananyascintayanto mam, ananyascintayanto mam. So those who are constantly, they are always who remember me. And who worship me constantly, ej paryupasate, tesham nitya abhiyuktanam, nitya abhiyuktanam. So ananya word means undeviate, without deviation, and nitya also says what it says. It indicates that constantly they are engaged. These are all fully surrendered. Tesham nitya abhiyuktanam, fully surrendered devotees. Now in Bhagavad Gita again and again talks about this kind of devotees. Actual devotional service means it's not part-time as we see in modern ISKCON congregation. A little bit bhakti. So part-time bhakti, little. Bhakti means this is a bhakti, what is described as in Bhagavad Gita. Constantly, without any deviation, engaging in devotional service. So devotee is always engaged in one or the other angas of bhakti. So Rupa Goswami has given, so our Goswamis have given, Rupa Goswami especially, after thoroughly researching and studying all the scriptures, he has extracted 64 limbs of bhakti. So those 64 limbs, so devotees are this Navavidha bhakti is there. Those Navavidha only they expand into 64. So devotee is always engaged in one of the or the other angas of bhakti. So, so this is bhakti which is described in. This is not even. We are not talking about prema bhakti or something. This is just normal bhakti yoga, sadhana bhakti. We can say even Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. This is bhakti yoga means. So what about grahasthas maintaining their family, their wives and children and all they have to maintain. So that's why Bhagavad Gita gives them concession in Bhagavad Gita that they can take up an occupation within devotion, within Varnashrama, which can be directly linked to Krishna. Means most of the Varnashrama occupations are they can be directly connected with Krishna, and then they become Gauna Bhakti Angas. So occupations can be dovetailed. They will become Gauna Bhakti Angas. So in this way, a devotee can constantly engage in Krishna's service. So such devotees, Krishna says, I always protect them, he says. Yoga Kshema Vahamyaham. Those who are fully surrendered. So Srila Prabhupada, he mentions this in the preface to Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So where Prabhupada, the topic of discussion was that teachings of Lord Krishna and teachings of Lord Chaitanya are not different. In fact, teachings of Lord Chaitanya are practical demonstrations of teachings of Lord Krishna. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, you surrender unto me. Surrendering means following these 6 limbs of surrendering. By following these 6 limbs of surrender, anukulasya sankalpo pratikulasya varjanam rakshishyati iti vishvaso goptritve varnam tata atmanikshepa karpanyo shadvida sharanagati. So these are 6 limbs of sharanagati. Prabhupada quoted this verse in that verse, the last chapter, means final instruction of Krishna, or the ultimate charama shloka it is called as Bhagavad. So Bhagavad Gita's charama shloka, ultimate instruction. Sarva dharmam paritejam mamekam sharanam raja ham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. So these are that in that verse 6, so surrender. So Prabhupada in this preface to Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, he says, although Lord is as a Lord Mahavishnu or Kshirodakshai Vishnu or Vishnu, he is maintaining all the living entities. He is only protecting all the living entities. But those who surrender to Krishna by following these 6 limbs of surrender, they are directly protected by Krishna. That's why Yoga Kshemam Vahami Aham, that word, Aham. So many acharyas where they comment like, so Krishna when he was speaking, he was beating on his chest. I personally protect them like that. So I'll just read this preface. There is no difference between the teachings of Lord Chaitanya presented here and the teachings of Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. The teachings of Lord Chaitanya are practical demonstrations of Lord Krishna's teachings. Lord Krishna's ultimate instruction in Bhagavad Gita is that everyone should surrender unto him, Lord Krishna. So actually Prabhupada says this Lord ultimate instruction in Bhagavad Gita is you should surrender unto him. Throughout Bhagavad Gita, from beginning to end, this is actually the teaching of Krishna. You just surrender unto me. This is the teaching actually. There is nothing else in Bhagavad Gita. So those who really understand Bhagavad Gita, they will see this point throughout Bhagavad Gita. Krishna promises to take immediate charge of such a surrendered soul. The Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is already in charge of maintenance of this creation by virtue of His plenary expansion. When the Lord says that He takes charge of His pure devotee, He actually takes direct charge. A pure devotee is a soul who is, you see how Prabhupada defines pure devotee. A pure devotee is a soul who is forever surrendered to the Lord, just as a child surrendered to his parents or an animal to its master. In the surrendering process, one should first accept things favorable for discharging devotional service. Second, reject things unfavorable. Believe firmly in the Lord's protection. Feel exclusively dependent on the mercy of the Lord and have no interest separate from the interest of the Lord, and always feel oneself meek and humble. So like this. So then Prabhupada says how people did not understand this, and rascal scholars, they misguided people. The Lord demands that one should surrender unto Him by following these 6 guidelines, but the unintelligent so-called scholars of the world misunderstand these demands and urge the general mass of people to reject them. At the conclusion of the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord directly says, engage your mind always in thinking of me, offer obeisances and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. 9.34, that is manmanabhav madbhakto madhyaj imam namaskaro mamai vaishyasi yuktva atmanam matparayana. However, the scholarly demons what a phrase it is. Scholarly demons. However, the scholarly demons misguide the masses of people by directing them to impersonal, unmanifest, eternal, unborn truth rather than the personality of God. Anyway, so like that Prabhupada goes. My point is basically this line which we read. The Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Before that, one should surrender unto Him, Lord Krishna. Krishna promises to take immediate charge of such a surrendered soul. The Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is already in charge of maintenance of this creation. But this maintenance is not direct. However, when the Lord says that He takes charge of His pure devotee, He actually takes direct charge. So that is actually basically Yogakshema Vahamyaham. That word, that word Aham is there. I personally take care of them. So Krishna. So Prabhupada used to tell that story of Arjuna Acharya, one Brahmana who was writing commentary, or he was studying Bhagavad Gita, and then when he came to this verse, he thought that why Lord Krishna has to do. So this should not be aham, it should be karamyaham, like that. He will get it done through his agents. Protection can be done through agents. This point I will again come back to this point. How Krishna protects through his agents also. So this devotee thought, and he went out for begging. Generally Brahmanas, poor, they would live by begging. Voluntarily accept poverty for higher cause, higher purpose. So because if there is too much luxurious eating, means senses will be uncontrolled, then mind will be agitated, disturbed, and cannot focus on spiritual advancement, and unnecessary anxiety for protecting wealth, whatever, so which will not allow them to focus on, so that's why simple living, high thinking, that is a principle. So that was trained from the beginning of their life, Brahmacharya ashram. In this way, so he went out for begging. Then when he went out, two small, very cute and beautiful boys, one was black and one was white like a milk, came and delivered lot of ingredients at his place to his wife, and then she was very attracted by their beauty. She asked them to wait, and they said, no, we can't wait, because your Acharya, if he comes, he will again beat us. So then they showed their back, that how he has beaten, and there were marks, scratches on their back. So then they ran away, and this wife of Arjuna Acharya, she became very angry on Acharya, and she cooked the meal and started eating. Generally, wife will not eat before husband in Vedic culture. So she started eating. Then Arjuna Acharya comes and he asks, what you are doing? You are eating like that. And then she shows anger. So why did you beat those children? So he said, which children? Those boys. So then she describes. Then he understands, oh, you are so fortunate that you saw Krishna and Balaram personally. Then he understands his mistake, that he had scratched on Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna directly protects his devotees, not that his pure devotees. Personally. Why is like that? Personally, why he has to do actually? He doesn't need to do personally. That again another story Prabhupada used to tell, no? Akbar and Birbal story. Prabhupada, because Muslims, Akbar, he said, Muslims believe that Krishna, God doesn't appear in this world, or he doesn't descend. There is no avatar of God within this world. So, why God should come? Because he should have his agents, right? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkritam. Why he should come to protect his devotees? Why he should come to kill demons? He is all powerful. He should have his agents to do these things. So then Birbal, once they were Birbal said that I will answer this question sometime when time comes. So once they were crossing the river in a boat, Akbar and his entourage and his family members. So his small boy, somehow or other slipped and fell into river. Although he had all his servants, his soldiers and everyone, still Akbar personally jumped to catch the boy out of affection. Then Birbal caught him. Why did you jump? There were so many others who could have saved the child. So then he said, that's why Krishna also personally appears to protect his devotees. So like that he says. In this way, personally Krishna protects. But whom he protects? These are fully surrendered devotees, pure devotees. Those who are ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nitya abhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Now, one devotee asked this question here in this verse which we read from Bhagavatam. So 1.12.9. So he protected Parikshit Maharaj when he was in the womb. So he personally appeared and protected him. Because he is a pure devotee. Then he did not protect him when Parikshit was cursed by Shringi to die in 7 days by a snake bite. So one thing is that Krishna personally protects his pure devotees, but sometimes he may not protect them. He has his own plans for pure devotees. So, like we see that protection from death is one thing, and other thing, like devotees were tortured. Prahlad was tortured so much, Pandavas were tortured so much. So Krishna did not immediately, after so much suffering, especially you see Pandavas and Kunti, so he did protect them always, no doubt, but he made them to suffer also. So for that there are many reasons which we can think of, suggestions. Of course we may give suggestions based on our understanding of Shastra, but Lord would always have his own plans. So here he says, you see, Lord is all powerful and therefore he can both save and kill as he likes. So he has his own plans. I can think of 4 reasons why sometimes Krishna allows devotees to suffer, or arranges their life in such a way that devotees are apparently suffering. So one is to glorify those devotees. That how even in such circumstances they will never give up surrender. They will never give up devotional service. Because you see, Prabhupada defines pure devotee means a pure devotee is a soul who is forever surrendered to the Lord, just as a child is surrendered to his parents or an animal to its master. Forever surrendered. This word forever here. It's not that he is surrendered and when difficulties come he runs away from Krishna. So pure devotee means he is forever surrendered. That's why these words Ananya, Nitya Yukta Upasate, Tesham Nitya Abhiyuktana, Tesham Satata Yuktana. So Tasma Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara Yuddhacha. So these are all symptoms of pure devotional service. So pure devotional service. It can be on Vaidhi level, it can be sadhana, it can be Vaidhi sadhana level, or it can be a prema bhakti, whatever it is. So devotee is always engaged in Krishna service. So he wants to glorify these devotees, pure devotees, to show to reveal the greatness of their service, their dedication and surrender to him. So that is one reason. Another reason is to set example for the neophytes, newcomers. That like often I shall tell that our life is full of miseries and sufferings because we have whole baggage of our bad karmas within the material world. So if pure devotees, if everything is happy in their life, everything is smooth in their life, so we will not get inspiration to follow the path of bhakti. So we get inspiration by seeing how these devotees are suffering also, and then also they are engaged in pure devotional service. So to inspire us, to set a great example for us, because Krishna said that in Bhagavad Gita, Yad yad acharati sreshtastat tadevetaro janas sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. That is second one. And third one is to test the neophytes also. So it is a test whether we will survive or stay or not, or we will give up. Generally we think that path of bhakti is what? It's a bed of flowers, roses. Everything is sweet. Now I came to bhakti, then everything is nice now. I'll be only happy now onwards. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gave a lecture, I think it was later converted into an article. Acharyera Asamaurdhva Mahatva. The unsurpassable, unequaled greatness of an Acharya. That is a translation of that title. So he begins with this discussion that some neophytes, they think that bhakti is a path of roses or bed of roses, but no, it is a path of thorns, he says. So great acharyas have defined the bhakti as a path of millions of thorns, he says. Actually, he didn't quote him in that article, but it is who has defined it like that. In the Chandogya Upanishad it comes actually. What is that Chandogya Upanishad verse? Before this line it comes, no? Utishta Jagrata Parapya Viram Nibodhata. Before that one line is there. It's a blade of, yeah. Yeah. Kshurasya. Yeah, yes, that's a word. Kshurasya dharam. Kshurasya dharam. Nishita dhuratteya. Durgam pataste khavayo vadanti. So you see there, that's what Saraswati Thakur is telling. And within our sampradaya, it's again paraphrased, or in a more devotional way it is expressed by Prabodhananda Saraswati. So he says, Kala Kalir Balina Indriya Vairi Varga Shri Bhakti Marga Iha Kantaka Koti Ruddha Aha Kwayami Vikala Kim Aham Karomi Chaitanya Chandra Yadinam Krapam Karosi. So he says, this is Kali Yuga. Senses are very strong. And we have so millions of thorns in the path of bhakti. So senses are our enemies. And I am weak and lame. So what he says? Kantaka Ahakvayami Vikala Kimaham Karomi. Where I will go, what I will do. If Chaitanya Chandra doesn't show mercy. This verse comes in Chaitanya Chandramrita, glorifying the mercy of Sri Chaitanya. It's actually glorification of the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the whole book. So Chaitanya Chandramrita book. So he says, actually the path of bhakti is full of bliss, it is. In another verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says, Chaitanya Chandramrita, he says, Vishwam Purna Sukayate. For a devotee, the world appears full of bliss actually. Same Prabodhananda Saraswati, he said that. But unfortunately, we are in material world, which is, and our conditioned state, our senses, and this time Kali Yuga, these are all unfavorable for devotional service. Therefore, thorns are there. Otherwise, bhakti itself, by nature, bhakti is, we know, Sandrananda Visheshatma. It is a concentrated bliss, it is. Like a sugar candy, So concentrated bliss. The very nature of bhakti, Sandrananda Visheshatma. Atma means nature. The very nature of bhakti is concentrated bliss. But we are in Kali Yuga, and our senses are very strong. And material world, conditioned state and material world itself is unfavorable for devotional service. Otherwise, by nature, devotional service is full of bliss, and we experience that, no doubt, from beginning to end. Even in beginning stage also we get so much happiness. And the more we surrender, the more nectar we will relish. But in the meantime, of fully surrendering, we undergo so many miseries. Anyway, so for us it is for neophytes. Kanishta. Kanishta means neophyte. Kanishta. So his nishta would be tested. So that's why Krishna arranges the life of devotees in such a way. That is the third reason. And fourth is to cheat the atheists, non-devotees, atheistic class of people. Like that Dayananda Saraswati, the great champion of Hinduism. in the so-called champion of the Hinduism. And Vedas. So he became atheistic, or although he has one side, he has affinity for Vedic culture, another side he mixed his atheistic Christianity and Islamism, that worship of deities is not acceptable. Deity is not God. So he could not understand that, how Krishna. So such people, he cheated them. Krishna cheated him actually, basically. That, deity worship should not, Murti Puja should be abolished. He fought for that. So in this way, I don't know, they must be unhappy that now Ram Mandir is built. Arya Samaj is still very strong in India. If you take now name of him, now I spoke in this lecture and they will become angry on me. And if it comes to their attention, of course my lectures may not come to their attention, but they will become angry. Then why Modi and BJP is building Ram Mandir, and why Ram Bhakta so much fought for building Ram temple in Ayodhya. So, and all these for thousands of years temples are being built and deity is worshipped, and the new champion of Vedic culture comes, or Hinduism, and he says Murti Puja should be abolished. Anyway, so Krishna cheats some atheistic people like that. Atheists, in the name of religion, they are atheists actually. So, some mental, crazy people actually. So, anyway, these are the 4 reasons which I thought why pure devotees sometimes suffer by the arrangement of Krishna, because their life is fully arranged. So before this 9.22 there is 9.13 and 14 where Krishna defines Mahatma or great pure devotees as Mahatmas. Mahatma nastu mam partha daivim prakriti mashrita bhajantananya manaso jnatva bhutadim avyayam. Tesham, what is that? Satata yukta. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantasya dhradavrata namasyantasya mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. So basically these devotees are under the divine energy of the Lord, means under the internal potency of the Lord, daivim prakritim ashrita. So this internal potency of the Lord arranges their pastimes in such a way that we living entities, conditioned soul, get inspiration from their lives. So Parikshit Maharaj, being protected by Krishna while he was in the womb of his mother Uttara, it is because Krishna always protects his pure devotees. Krishna not protecting him at the end of his life by snake bite, that is also Krishna's plan. So Krishna wants to teach us how to live our bodies. So what is our duty at the time? Basically I thought in connection with Parikshit, so I thought Krishna wanted to reveal Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam to the world, and particularly teach people how to live, prepare ourselves for death, how to leave the body, and what is the duty at the time of, that was the first question of Parikshit Maharaj. And also to stop Kali for some more time from entering. So Parikshit Maharaj practically stopped Kali by his powerful administration. So we come to know. Then anyway, in the end of first canto we see basically what is first canto of Srimad. First canto of Srimad Bhagavatam has 3 topics basically. One is history of Srimad Bhagavatam, how it was come to being and compiled by Vyasadeva, and introduction of the teacher and student of Srimad Bhagavatam, that is Shukadeva Goswami, that comes towards the end. Then introduction of the student of Srimad Bhagavatam, that is Parikshit Maharaj, birth of Parikshit, etc. So these three things are discussed in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So all others are sub-themes to these three main themes. So towards the end it is mentioned there that Krishna, because it is mentioned, because pure devotee Parikshit Maharaj, Krishna wanted him to come back to Godhead. Therefore Krishna did not protect him towards the end. So in this way Krishna has his transcendental plans for his pure devotees that we may understand or we may not understand. But these basic things we can learn from the Shastras, from the examples, from Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So, then this is about pure devotees. What about others' protection? So there are others. One class of people have no protection at all. That is atheists and non-devotees and sinful souls. They will be punished and punished and punished and punished and punished. Krishna said that in Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter, Muda janmani janmani dhanaham dvishata krura samsareshu naradana ajastra shubhan. What is that? Asureshveshva yonishu. 2 verses are there. Krishna puts them again and again in hellish condition and punishes them. Left, right, bottom, inside, outside. So they are punished. Of course, that punishment is also one kind of protection. It is Krishna is absolute. Whether he punishes or protects, it's all same. So we have to understand that. Why there is, that is another question which our dear friends, Christian friends and Western theologians and philosophers are struggling from thousands of years. Why there is evil in the world? Why there is suffering in the world? Suffering is also mercy, it is. Because that leads us to inquiry. So inquiry into absolute truth, why there is suffering. Otherwise, jivas will be like dull, mad, insane, like animals and trees. Go on eating, sleeping, mating and depending and try to somehow or other escape and increase happiness and decrease some suffering, like modern day two-legged animals are busy with. So that is another question. And there are other pious beings which are rare in Kali Yuga. There is no question. My understanding is there are pure devotees, there are sinful people, and in between there are mixed sinful and pure devotees, sadhakas like us. These pious souls are missing in Kali Yuga, in this society, present society actually. So, what about protection of the sadhakas? The question comes now. So, how they will be protected? Of course, they will also be protected by Krishna. So, if you see, Prabhupada, in that I read that quote from Preface to Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, that Krishna Lord, what is this? The Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is already in charge of the maintenance of this creation by virtue of his plenary expansion, Kshirodakshay Vishnu. But this maintenance is not direct. So we come under that category. not direct maintenance. So he has his own security system. Krishna has. There are demigods to protect the pious souls. Then it is a duty of Kshatriya kings to protect the citizens. Kshatriyo hi prajarakshan shastrapani pradandayan nirjitya parasainyadi kshitim dharmena palayet. So Prabhupada has quoted this verse in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, I think 32nd verse, second chapter, 32nd verse. This verse is from Parashara Smriti, Parashara Muni, who was father of Vyasadeva. So he defines the duty of Kshatriyas. Kshatriyo hi prajarakshan. Kshatriyas are supposed to protect the citizens. Then it is their duty. For that protection, they may have to use weapons. Shastrapani pradandayan. Use of weapons is meant for protection of citizens. So why? That I mentioned other day, pacifism. There is pacifism, and like in the Western world, it became a very great movement actually, especially in Europe in the mid 20th century, just before Second World War. So Albert Einstein was also taking part. According to theory of pacifism, there should be end to all the wars. There should be no war. But that doesn't happen in the material world, because there are always good and bad elements are there. So in 1974, I think in Los Angeles, some theologians came to meet Srila Prabhupada. That video is there. So you can watch that video, very nice it is. So they came to, Professor Stilson Judah also was there in that. And so Prabhupada, he challenged them, you are all theologians, so you should know who is God. Then according to you, who is God is? Then one fellow, he said, we are searching, he said. Then he said, you are not theologians, you are theosophists, he says. You are searching God means you are theosophist, not theologian. But anyway, Prabhupada, he said that, then Prabhupada continues that, you don't know who is God, and I am presenting God, Krishna here. Why don't you accept it, he says. And I am not whimsically presenting, based on Vedic scriptures and the great authorities like Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Lord Chaitanya, and our spiritual master Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Paribrajakacharya Stotra Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur. Such a long, such a respect he had for his Guru. So disciples should have such a respect for Guru. So in this way, so Prabhupada said, then one fellow challenged Prabhupada that we have heard that you were recommending that there should be war, because those days that Vietnam war was going on, and there was lot of commotion. Younger generation was, young boys were against it because they were getting drafted in the army. Then young girls were unhappy with that, because the boys, if they are drafted, what they will do without the boys? So in America, Prabhupada also went for some peace meetings. In front of UNO, he went and did chanting, like that. So not only that, connected with Vietnam, so Prabhupada also, something is wrong with this. Yeah. So Vietnam, in 1971 war, Prabhupada, when he came to Delhi, in 1971, there was India-Pakistan war was going on. So Prabhupada was asked by a newspaper reporter, we are in dark time now, our enemies are attacking on us, what we should do. Everything must have thought that Prabhupada, there should be peace, 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 like that. Prabhupada said, no. If enemies are aggressive, you should be also aggressive. You should also attack them. So Prabhupada was not against, he was not against, completely against wars. But it should be meant for protecting the citizens, innocent citizens. Violence is meant for, violence has its good use also. And whole Bhagavad Gita is connected with that. But unfortunately in India, this Gandhi, so India lost this 1962 war with China because of this bogus idea of we are peace loving. Although the army chiefs had given report that there is aggression from Chinese side, we have to be prepared. So Nehru did not bother about it, and then so last moment some troops were sent and they were brutally killed by Chinese army. So Prabhupada mentioned about that war in first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in his composition, because Prabhupada was composing first canto purports in those days. So anyway, violence will be there, but violence should be used for, and these modern technological warfares can never become dharmic wars. It's all cowardism, it is. Terrorists are cowards because they suddenly come and blow off people. Then even the war also, so-called, they are all this technological warfare. So traditionally in Vedic culture, Kshatriyas used to fight face to face, following so many rules and regulations. That is dharmic warfare. So, but anyway, if those who don't follow dharma, they are animals and atheists. With them, we don't need to follow dharma actually. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself, in Kurukshetra war, Mahabharata war, we see that Krishna himself asks Arjuna to break so many rules. Of course, that should be done in a very cautious way. So these points of dharma has to be considered. Violence should be under the, means within the boundary of dharma. So Kshatriya kings are supposed to protect the citizens. Kshatriyo hi praja rakshan. But unfortunately now there is no varnashrama, there are no Kshatriya kings. Politicians are all demons, rascals they are actually. So instead of protecting citizens, they are praja bhakshan. That word comes in, in Bhagavatam actually, in the 12th canto of Bhagavatam. That in Kali Yuga, so the kings, so-called kings, they would be praja bhakshan, they would be gobbling the citizens. So there is no practically protection for citizens. Sometime, these politicians start wars, attack each other just for gratifying their sense gratification. So just to protect their seat, they start attacking other countries because they want to convince gullible citizens that, oh, we are your protectors, therefore we are waging wars. In the end, what happens? The poor citizens, they are brutally killed in these wars. So these are not at all dharmic wars, what we see in modern society. So these are all demons. So they always consider their own benefit and sense gratification, these demons. There is no protection for citizens at all. Like we see 10 years before, according to the statistics, maybe around 2013 or something, 70% of the police was used for protecting VIPs and politicians in India. 70% of the police. How can you expect that the police will then, 30% police will protect the citizens? In India, this was the situation. So you can imagine 70% of the police personnel was used. And I don't know what is the present situation. So in this way, half of the army or more than half of the army and police persons are meant for protecting these
demon politicians only, who are useless, all third class, low class people. They come to power by taking vote. And this demon crazy democracy, people believe that, oh, I have been given rights actually, I have right to vote, I have right to choose, but it's all nonsense, it's ignorance of the people. So there should be varnashram dharma in the society, there should be proper trained kshatriyas who are real well-wishers, who are protectors of the citizens. So then there will be protection. And there should be proper establishment of proper religious principles. Now these killings are in the name of religion. So in the name of religion they kill human beings, in the name of religion they kill animals. So many animals are slaughtered. So these tamasic religions, Abrahamic religions, because in Bible, why meat eating increased in the world? Because of the spread of Christianity and Islam. So the scientific research which they do this nutrition, study on nutrition. By eating eggs you will get this protein, by eating fish you will get this protein, vitamin and all these kind of things. So it's not actually the scientific research, it is actually Christianity, in the name of science, in the garb of science. So lot of science, what we call as Western science, they are all religious dogmas actually. So because in the beginning of in Bible it is said that God created animals to be dominated by human beings. So they want to just gobble them. Animals are meant for gobbling. So because of that mentality of killing animals, then so the consciousness will come to the point that you don't mind killing other fellow human beings. So in this way they keep killing Christians, Protestants killing Catholics, and Christians killing Muslims and Muslims killing Christians. So all the time war is going on in the Middle East and everywhere. It's because so these Christians and Muslims killing each other. So in this way, these are all very tamasic religions. So, but in India, religion and philosophy, if you see, it's a land of religion and philosophy, dharma. So they used to fight among themselves. And we see that I was talking about violence. This Jain and Buddhism also, they became prominent. So the great champions of independence like Gandhi, Ambedkar, they were all influenced by these Buddhist ideas of non-violence, etc. I don't know Gandhi how he found non-violence in Bhagavad Gita. The whole Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So I feel that it is coming, influenced by Buddhism actually. So, and Ambedkar was at least very clearly he was a Buddhist. He took many Dalits and got them initiated into Buddhism, thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So, but violence should be used for protecting the citizens. So bad elements should be curbed, and it is the duty of Kshatriyas. So Krishna doesn't have to come to protect the citizens. It is not his duty. He has made his system. Personally, he doesn't have to come actually. So it is duty of Kshatriyas. Politicians have to do that, but politicians are useless there. They are not kings, Kshatriya kings. They are low-class Sudras who have taken position by voting system. And as far as for devotees and protecting deities and temples and all, some practical measures we have to take. We have to keep gun. We have to have security system. Of course, nowadays, government should also have security. There is police system is there. Sometimes they I don't know what is exactly the security system provided by the government for such temples and etc. I think prominent temples they give security system, or those temples which are under government, there is security personals there. But those who don't, those who are government, those who are not provided by government, security system provided by government, such people, such institutions should have their private security system. So nowadays there are so many security private companies, but often the security personnel and the private companies, they are half dead people. Some old man with big buttocks or big stomach. If you touch him little bit, and immediately he will fall and die. Such persons are only then signboard is put security personnel there. Security person. So ISKCON devotees, they should develop their own security personnel. We need to have gradually develop this security, this Kshatriya mission, So we have to develop our own, and we can have guns also. Because to protect devotees, deities, we may not be worried so much about our personal protection, but we should be worried about protection of devotees, deities. So temples, we are building big temples, protection is required. So we should have our own security system. We have to plan for that. We should not be in dream. Actually thinking that Krishna will personally come and protect, or why Krishna did not protect is atheism actually. It is not devotion. It is atheism. What you are doing. Krishna, that is what he taught in Bhagavad Gita, right? He encouraged Arjuna to fight. He did not personally kill all the people. Actually he did. We see that in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So, but devotees should do their duty. It is their responsibility. Why we want to engage Krishna in our service? That is not bhakti actually. We should do service to Krishna, right? That's why Varnashrama also is required. We need Kshatriyas to protect citizens, protect devotees. We have to develop. So this is the Shudra actually. So these are some of the thoughts. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Any questions and comments? Brahmana is non-violent, but that doesn't mean is Brahmana is indifferent to protect the citizens actually. He trains a Kshatriya. He brings up Kshatriya mission. He brings dharma in the society actually. So that indifference is a Shudra mentality. Indifference means ignorance it is actually. So ignorance is Shudra. It's not a Brahmana. So we should not think Brahmana means there is devotional spiritual thinking. That spiritual thinking, okay, that point, another point which is that one more protection of Lord is that, so protection of, more important than protection of the body is protection of the consciousness. So protecting us from gliding down into the cycle of birth and death in the lower species of the life. That is more important. So that spiritual bhakti and spirituality is there. Then there is Brahmana and Kshatriya is there. So Brahmana, he doesn't only think in terms of spiritual, he thinks materially also. He thinks in terms of, he thinks on the platform of Varnashram dharma. So dharma means protection on the material platform. Actually, dharma word, if you see, that which sustains, dra, drik dhatu, it comes from that dhatu. So sustenance, that which sustains one's existence is called as dharma. So on spiritual platform, the sustenance of the soul is by pure bhakti, and on material platform, sustenance is by varnashram dharma actually. So we get food, water, protection, everything, sense gratification through varnashram dharma. So therefore, dharma has to be established. And most of the people who are champions of Hindutva also, they don't know what is exactly dharma means. So, like there are many Hindutva groups are there in India. So often their complete behavior is demonic, but they are champions of dharma. But anyway, something is better than nothing. We don't say they are fully wrong. Like present government is there. They speak about Hindutva and all. But all their policies are anti-dharmic. This even development, progress, the present Prime Minister who is a champion of development. Actually this progress and development is a Christian idea. It is. So it is coming from 5th century or 4th century. The original founder of Christianity. Founder of Christianity is not this Jesus. Founder of Christianity is what is his name? Thomas Aquinas was the 12th century, and before that I often quote his name. Yeah, Augustine, one of the four or five. So his idea was this idea of progress. He said that every successive civilization is a progression from the previous one, he said. The same idea was later, it is dominating Western world, Western philosophy and theology for last 1500 years. Because even Karl Marx, his idea of history is that progressive one. So this whole idea of development, progress is a Christian idea. So Vedic idea is that Kali Yuga is degrading, most worst of all ages actually. Okay, Hare Krishna. Any questions?
Krishna's protection always doesn't manifest on the bodily platform.
Yeah, that I said, no? That protection of the soul is more important than protection of the body. But yeah, that point is there. Krishna and his devotees should not be indifferent to body also fully, because human body is meant for crossing this ocean of material existence. So it is compared with a boat, suitable boat in Bhagavatam. So we are not fully indifferent to body. Therefore, there should be some protective security system should be there in human society. Right? Okay, Hare Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.